Now, if you remember, 1 over x has a vertical asymptote, right? Well, yeah, so here's this. They've kind of given you over here. This is 1 over x looks like. So 1 over 5 minus x. So we've added 5, right, on the inside. So that's going to be a horizontal shift of 5 to the left. And then we're doing the minus. All right. So 5 to the left, and then reflect across the y-axis because everything's horizontal. It's going to end up being 5 to the right. And you'll notice this has one that and reflected. So that's this one. This is the one that's 5 to the right here, and reflected. All right. So now here's another kind of question they make for you. They kind of make up, they just give you a graph. You don't have a formula for it. So what you have to do is figure out what happens to each point one at a time. So for minus f of x, well, the minus is on the outside, which means it's going to affect the y but not the x. That's why anything on the outside is vertical. So the point minus 14, 0, that minus sign is going to affect the y. So the x stays the same, so it'll still be minus 14, and then minus 0 is still 0. So that one's just going to be the same. It's not going to change. All right. Again, now we do the minus again. Now this one, again, it's on the outside, so it's only affecting the y. But so we're just going to flip the sign on the y, right? So it's going to end up being minus 7, right? Again, we have a 0 on the outside, so that's not going to be affected, right? The y is a 0, so negative 0 is still 0. That one's not going to change. And here we have 7, 7. Well, again, the negative sign is going to flip the sign on the y, so now we're going to have 7, negative 7. All right? So anything you do outside, like a minus here, right, like this minus, or maybe adding or subtracting something here, only affects the y value of the point. Anything you do on the inside only affects the x value. All right, and remember on the inside it kind of is a backwards effect. If you add something, it's a shift to the left, so you'd subtract from the x coordinate. If you multiply, it's the opposite. So yes, actually, so here we're going to do it. Here's a minus on the inside. So this is not going to affect the y, it's going to affect the x. So minus 8, 0, the x is minus 8, put a negative on that, it's going to be positive 8, 0. Yep. Minus 4, 4, right? So apply the minus sign just to the x, it's going to get us a 4, 4. Since it's on the inside, it doesn't affect the y. All right? 0, 0, doesn't really matter. That's not affected by any factor. Because minus 0 is 0. And again, 4, 4, this is only affecting the x, so it's minus 4, 4. So if we're going to do the graph, we could have plotted those points. Or in this case, we're just going to reflect it. We're going to twist it right across the y-axis. So it's going to be the same graph, but like it was flipped around the y-axis. That looks like this one, right? That's the same graph, but flipped around the y-axis. So it's B. All right, 2 out front. It's a vertical, right? It's just going to be a vertical stretch by 2. So if you look at the original, what looks like it's stretched vertically by 2. Let's see, at 6 we were at 2. So where's the one where we're 6, 4? 2, 4, 6. That's this one right here. There's 6, 4, right? More or less. So it's going to be that one there. Use the graph of y equals f of x to graph the function, and they give us this kind of nasty thing here. So the graph, here's f. F is over here on the graph. And then what we're going to do is we're going to graph minus f of minus x plus 2. Now, the way that I think about these is I kind of break it into parts. What's going to affect the x and what's going to affect the y. So remember, anything inside the function has a horizontal effect. Inside the function affects the x coordinates. That's this one. This is the only thing that's inside, right? The only thing that's going to affect the x coordinates is the minus sign. outside the function, we have the minus sign here, and we have the plus 2. All right, so let's do that. So the only thing let's look at our first point, minus 4, 1. The only thing affecting the minus 4 is the minus sign, so that's going to be plus 4. Okay. Now, what about the y-coordinate? Well, we do the flip first. So 1, with the minus here, 1 becomes minus 1. And we add 2, we get back to 1. So this is going to become 4, 1. All right, great. So let's look at this next point. Well, the x is minus 3. The only thing affecting the x-coordinate is the minus on the x, so that will become plus 3. Now the minus 5, first we apply the minus out here in front, right? So it becomes positive 5. Then we add 2, it becomes 7. So we're going to have the point 3, 7. All right, 0, 0. The zeros are not going to be affected by either one of the minus signs, right? Because the minus 0, 0. So the x will stay 0. The y, however, does still have the plus 2 on it. So 0 plus 2 is 2. So this will become 0, 2. All right. Next point, 2, 4. Okay. The x-coordinate, again, only gets the minus applied to it. So it becomes minus 2. The y-coordinate gets the minus, so that's minus 4, and then plus 2 is minus 2. So this one becomes minus 2, minus 2. Last one, the 4, again, only gets the minus to it, so it becomes a minus 4. And then the y-coordinate is going to have the same thing happen. I mean, it's minus 5, right? So the minus sign in front here gets applied to it, and that becomes 5. And then we add 2, that becomes 7. So we get minus 4, 7. Okay? Now, so that's all the points. You can do them one at a time. And it's going to talk